Something rare is happening in your sky today, Gemini, and it starts with a mirror. Not a metaphorical one, an actual mirror, or maybe the front-facing camera on your phone. Because sometime today, in a moment you will not see coming, you may catch a glimpse of yourself and think, wait, who is that person, really? Stay with that thought. By the end of this, you will understand exactly why today was built for that exact kind of jolt. Here is the architecture of the day. And it is worth understanding because everything else, the love, the money, the family tension, grows out of this one root system. From a Western tropical lens, Uranus is currently moving through your first house, the house of identity and self-presentation. Uranus does not whisper. It works like lightning, sudden, electric, impossible to schedule. While it transits this part of your chart, your flashes of insight tend to arrive in the most unglamorous places. In front of a mirror, scrolling your own profile, catching your reflection in a shop window. That is not coincidence. The first house governs how you package yourself for the world, and Uranus wants to blow the packaging wide open. Layered on top of that, today's moon is forming a trine, a smooth, supportive angle with Mars sitting in your sign. Depending on which report you are tracking, that moon is positioned either energizing your ninth house of learning and exploration, or moving through inventive Aquarius in what some astrologers call your courage zone. Either placement tells the same functional story. Your curiosity has direction today, and your courage has fuel behind it. That is a rare enough pairing that it deserves your attention. And then there is the longer arc running underneath both of those. Mercury, your ruling planet, is retrograde right now. Retrogrades ask you to look backward before you can move forward. Specifically, current transits suggest this cycle is nudging you to revisit unresolved financial questions and career decisions you may have rushed past earlier in the year. So you have got 3 timelines stacked on top of each other today. A fast, electric, right now identity spark from Uranus, a medium-term push toward action from that Moon-Mars trine, and a slower, backward-looking financial and career audit from Mercury retrograde. Keep all 3 in your pocket, because we are about to walk through exactly how they show up in your actual day. Let us start with love, because this is where the day gets tender fast. Earlier in the day, the moon's position in Virgo may leave you feeling a little agitated, a little harder to satisfy than usual, and if you have been circling the same unresolved conflict with someone close to you, this is likely when it resurfaces. You may have noticed that these tensions rarely announce themselves. They just sit under the surface of an otherwise normal conversation until something small triggers them. The good news is that this window tends to loosen its grip as the day moves on, and communication becomes your actual leverage point, not your obstacle. If you have been meaning to say something to someone, the retrograde energy makes this especially relevant. Many astrologers watching this transit report a pull toward emotional honesty. If you love someone, take favors telling them before the moment quietly closes. But here is what almost gets lost in the relationship noise. That same Moon-Mars trine we mapped out earlier is not just about romance. It is about courage in general, and it happens to land exactly on the same day your ruling planet is asking you to look backward. So while your heart might feel a little raw in the morning, your nerve is being quietly rebuilt in the background, ready to be used for something bigger than a difficult conversation. Which brings us to career, and this is where that rebuilt nerve gets spent. The trine between the moon and Mars in your sign tends to translate into genuine forward motion, drafting the message you have been sitting on, making the call, submitting the idea that has been living in your notes app for weeks. Picture it like a bridge finally finishing construction. The idea was always there, but today the crossing actually opens. Some versions of this transit point specifically toward bigger structural moves, a transfer request, continuing education your employer might fund, even early development on a startup concept you have been mulling privately. Provides the push. You do not need the whole plan solved before you move. You need one step that turns possibility into motion, because feedback that arrives quickly right now can sharpen your approach faster than more theorizing ever will. Now, that career energy does not operate in a vacuum. It is happening while Mercury retrograde is asking pointed questions about your finances, and that is worth pausing on before we go further. Money today deserves a second glance rather than a passing one. With Mercury moving backward through your chart, this is a stretch where old financial details, a subscription you forgot about, an invoice you assumed was settled, a budget line that quietly crept up tend to resurface for review. That is not a punishment. It is an invitation. Current transits suggest that simply tracking your spending with a bit more attention today, rather than avoiding the number, keeps you in solid shape. Many people navigating this exact retrograde find that the financial clarity they gain now becomes the foundation for smarter decisions once Mercury turns direct again. Here is what makes today genuinely rare, and it is worth sitting with for a second. Uranus lightning striking your sense of identity, a Moon-Mars trine handing you the courage to act, and a Mercury retrograde forcing an honest look backward are all operating on you simultaneously. Most people experience these influences one at a time, spread across weeks. You are getting the compressed version, all in a single 24-hour window. What that means practically is this: the version of yourself staring back in the mirror today is not necessarily who you will be reintroducing to the world tomorrow, and that is not something to fear. If you have been wearing a straitjacket of an image, the overly polished, overly controlled version of you that stopped feeling honest a while ago, this is a genuinely supported moment to loosen it. Not perform a total reinvention overnight. Just give yourself more oxygen, more room to move, one honest choice at a time. Take a breath here, because the next part is about your body and your mind, not just your identity. With so much electric, backward and forward energy running through the day, your nervous system may feel the friction more than usual. Travel and daily routines might feel unusually draining right now, almost like walking through water instead of air. If that is you, it does not mean something is wrong. It often just means you are closer to the finish line of this particular emotional cycle than it feels. You may have noticed you are already regaining a sense of balance after a stretch of ups and downs, even if it is fragile. Protect that recovery. Simple, grounding practices, a walk without your phone, 5 minutes of quiet before bed, writing down the one financial or career worry that is loudest tend to serve you better today than pushing through on willpower alone. If you are someone who leans on tradition-specific remedies, some practitioners might suggest planetary color work or a short grounding ritual for days like this, but that is a personal chart matter, not a blanket prescription. Nothing here requires you to buy anything or change your beliefs to feel steadier. That same steadiness carries into your home and the people around you. Because your emotional bandwidth may be a little thinner than usual before the day settles, small family friction, or a testy exchange with someone you live with might land harder than it normally would. Perhaps you have realized that most of these frictions are not really about the dishes or the schedule. They are about needing to feel seen while you are quietly processing your own identity shift. Naming that out loud, even briefly, tends to diffuse it faster than letting it simmer. If travel is on your agenda today, a little extra buffer time is worth building in, not out of fear, just realism, given how much internal reshuffling is happening underneath the surface. Spiritually, this is a good day to treat your own curiosity as sacred rather than frivolous. The same inventive energy pushing you toward a new idea in your career is underneath it, your soul asking a bigger question about direction and meaning. Let the two conversations happen together instead of separating them. Before we close, a few small, tangible anchors for the day, purely practical. The stretch between 4 and 6 in the afternoon tends to run in your favor, So if you have a choice about when to have a hard conversation or send an important message, that window is worth using. Purple carries a supportive charge for you today, so if you are dressing with intention, that is your color. And if you are tracking numbers, err on the side of double checking rather than assuming. So here is where all three timelines meet: the lightning fast identity spark, the courageous forward motion, and the backward glancing financial honesty are not three separate stories. They are one story, told from three different distances. The version of you the mirror surprised this morning is the same version your career move is built for, and the same version your finances are quietly being cleaned up to support. Draft the message. Check the number twice. Say the honest thing to the person who deserves to hear it. None of this requires certainty about how it all turns out. It just requires the next small, honest step. Take it today and notice how differently tomorrow's reflection looks back at you.